Hi, everybody. I know I haven't made a video in a very long time. Cough,
A
cough, a
month.
month. But I'm doing a cameo with Yugi Master because, we can.
Oh, wait,
We
is that
feel like
me?
it.
Wait, is that
Yes,
me?
that's
Oh,
you.
yes, it is me. My name is
That is
Bezalel.
definitely him.
So, we're here with some more rule shark stuff that people really need to know. And I call it Learn the Rules. I don't know what he wants it to be called, so he can name it
Learn
whatever.
to play the fucking game.
Should we
That's
actually
what it
name the
shall be
series
called.
that?
Yes, we should.
Okay, the series
Actually,
is
no,
now
it
named
has
that.
the word fucking in it, so maybe
Well,
not.
actually, no, you can't upload it. I mean, all you have to do is just use asterisks for the fucking...
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Learn the fucking game. Learn how to play the fucking game.
yeah.
Featuring Yugi Master.
Alright, so first card in the list is Harper Dancer. Roy, explain it.
Okay, so Harpy Dancer is a lot like Swap Frog, but the differences between this and Swap Frog is this one is wind, first of all, and it can only be used once per turn. Like its bounce effect can only be used once per turn. And this one is treated as Harpy Lady, whereas Swap Frog is not treated as Death Frog, which is a whole confusing little
It's a
art.
whole entire other matter. There's frog decks that resolve entirely around a normal freaking frog that no one even likes.
Death Frog? Death Frog isn't normal.
No, not Death Frog. Uh,
Talking about Frog the
Frog the
Jam.
Jam is what I
That
was
card is like
referencing.
it's one of the worst cards in existence. Man,
Exactly.
it gets so much hate. Oh my
It
god.
gets so much hate on by the other frogs. It's like
Every frog card except Frog the Jam. Every card. Every card.
every card will let you ditch a frog except Frog the Jam. Frog the Jam is just like sitting there, he's like, what did I ever do to you? Just like over there crying and whatnot. Anyways, next on the list is Erin.
Wait. I forgot the whole thing with Divine Wind in the Mist Valley. And Harpy Dancer can target itself for its effect. So like if you have Divine Wind of Mist Valley, you play Harpy Dancer and you bounce it back to the hand and you will get the effect of both of them. So you would be able to search from your deck and normal summon again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So,
Chris.
next card is Erin Valois Monk. Now, some people often mistake this card's effect for something
A little
more
bit more broken than
OP
it
than it actually
actually
is.
is.
Now, if you read it, it says before damage calculation, when this card attacks a defense position monster, shuffle that monster into the deck. Now, cards like Raikou that have flip effects, the flip effects are still activated. Someone tried to tell me no they don't, but you have to think about the sub-step categories under which they fall. Damage calculation is the middle step during
Battle step.
during the battle step. There's a sub-step 1 and sub-step 2. Before damage calculation, clearly you can see that it activates in sub-step 1. As to where if it says after damage calculation, it falls under sub-step 2 after you actually take the damage from the battle. So, when you attack, obviously you declare an attack, thus flipping the card if it was set face down, causing the flip effect to trigger, but you wouldn't take any damage calculation if it was from, like, let's say Erin attacks a Sentry Golem with 1800 defense, you would take no damage because it would shuffle it back into the deck before damage calculation occurs. So that basically sums that up. Now, another thing with Light Forms is during the end phase, you send the top three cards or the top cards from the deck to the graveyard for a mill effect. Now, Roy, what was that thing you were pointing out about Effect Veiler? That
Oh yeah. If you affect Valor, any Lightsworn monster, the turn player chooses the order in which effects resolve, like during the end phase. So you can choose to have Aaron's effect skipped, or you can choose for Valor's effect to resolve. For like the duration would end before the end phase. So like you actually can mill even if Aaron gets Valored.
because it says until the end phase, correct?
Yes, and Aaron says during the end phase.
Yeah, so it still would happen. Now,
Indeed.
Roy, on to you with Protector of the Sanctuary.
Okay, Protector of the Sanctuary. I know this card seems like it's just like completely broken, right? You play this card and you play card destruction, and you draw 5 and they get nothing, right? I wish that was the case. I really do, because this card it's underrated, but it's underrated because they made a ruling about it. Very unfortunate. Anyway, so you cannot force your opponent to draw cards while it's face up on the field, but you can do like sneaky shit where where the card is on the field and it's not face up, and you chain something to flip it up. During I like disturbance strategy is a great example of this. It shuffles all the cards in your opponent's hand back into their deck and forces them to draw the same amount of cards. Right? If you have this card in your graveyard and you activate disturbance strategy, it shuffles all the cards back into the hand because that's the activation effect, and then that's when people get a chance to chain, and that's when you would chain your Call of the Haunted, bring back Protected Sanctuary. They draw nothing because it's a chain block, so you can't force them to draw, but it wasn't on the field, so you didn't force them to draw while it was on the field. It's kind of a resolution thing.
Yeah.
But
So
they can use draw cards, but they won't get the effect. You just get just the person that controls Protected the Sanctuary cannot force the other person to draw.
yeah. So no hand destruction, no card destruction, no morphing jar. Well, Protector of the Sanctuary. Well, morphing jar is a flip effect. When it's flipped, it's a mandatory effect. So they still wouldn't draw, but they would have to discard, correct?
Yes.
But they wouldn't be able to draw, but you would.
Yes.
And anything else you want to say about Protector?
Nope. Other than the fact that it combos with Ryo.
Oh, yes it does. Yes it does. So, on the next card is Cards from the Sky, which has a very similar thing that I was discussing on my first episode about Dragosok and Duality. This looks very similar to that. Now, Cards of the Sky is very iffy. People tend to fuck this up all the time. You can remove from play one Night Fairy monster from in your hand and draw 2 cards. You cannot, repeat, cannot special summon or conduct your battle phase during the same turn you activate this effect. It works just like Pot of Duality, and it works just like Dragosok. Dragosok, when you use its effect to pop a Mecha Phantom Beast monster to destroy something, you cannot declare an attack with Dragosok. Pot of Duality, when you activate it, you cannot special summon. It works just like those two. If you special summon or you do conduct your battle phase, you are not allowed to play Cards from the Sky, because it works as a double negative, just like Dragosok, just like Pot of
Pot of
Duality,
Duality.
stuff like that. So Cards from the Sky, people think it's more OP than it actually is because they don't read the fucking rules. Next card on the right is Gold Sarcophagus.
And there's a lot of rage behind people fucking that card up. If you play Gold Sark on E-Dragon and you try and use its effect again, it does not work. And it also doesn't work if you used that same E-Dragon that you're Gold Sarking for. If you use that E-Dragon's effect and then you Gold Sark it, you don't get the effect again. It's once per fucking turn and only one effect. Okay?
Not to mention there's another little thing about Gold Sark that really pisses you off.
Oh yeah, when you Gold Sark something that special summons itself from the Banish Zone, like I guess DD Scout Plane would be an example. If you Gold Sark DD Scout Plane and it's not in your Banish Zone, I mean, like, it's gonna special summon itself, right? So it's gonna leave the Banish Zone and come onto the field. If it's banished again during the second turn of Gold Sark, you do not get to add it back to your hand because it's I don't know how to explain that
It
right
would
now.
cause
But,
it to break the timing.
right.
Because Gold Sarcophagus would affect that card, and if that card is no longer in banishment, it causes it to chain break, thus alleviating the card from being actually attached to the effect of Gold Sarcophagus. Gold Sarcophagus loses the target and cannot add anything to the hand at that set point.
It's like Monster Reborn DD Crow.
Yes. Don't.
You targeted it, but it's not in the graveyard anymore. You can't choose another target.
Yeah, that's stupid.
And on to Chris with
So,
Skill Drain.
the next card, like you just said, is Skill Drain. Now, Skill Drain negates on-field effects, however, their effects can still be activated. Whether or not the effect actually works depends on where it's resolved. Cards such as, like, Shockmaster that resolves on the field wouldn't actually gain the effect, but the effect would be activated. Cards
Right.
that tribute and resolve in other places, such as Galaxy Wizard, is a strong example. Same with Infinity Mirage, in which I had a case where I actually messed up and forgot the ruling about this.
He did not hear the end of it for quite a while.
Roy chastised me for 4 days about that. I remember all of those 4 days. It was miserable because of that. Not really. Just kidding, Roy wasn't miserable.
And it wasn't 4 days.
It was 3.
That sounds more accurate.
Anyways, to get back to the point of the card, Roy, um, effects that resolve in other places except on the field, their effects can be activated and used because it resolves in a different place where the effect has an actual effect. So like Infernity Mirage, you could send it to the graveyard to special summon 2 Infernity monsters. Because its effect resolves in the graveyard, it's eligible. Stardust Dragon, it can be reborn and brought to the field because its effect not only resolves in the graveyard for the negation effect, its effect to special summon also resolves in the graveyard. So Stardust Dragon would come back even though there's a skill game on the field.
Colossal
So
Fighter 2.
Colossal Fighter, same way. Basically anything that resolves in another place on the field can work. Now if Soul Drain's on the field, that's a no-go.
Yep. But then again, Heavy Storm is a card.
Heavy Storm is a card that kills people. On to the next card that is kind of difficult for most people is Daigusto Emerald. Roy, would you like to explain?
Yes. So if you had, okay, let's say you had 2 cards in your graveyard, right? And you just got finished exceeding into Daigusto Emerald. I know it says detach 1 exceed material from the card and then activate one of these effects, but you have to have an eligible target for one of the effects before you can detach. So if you only had 2 cards in the graveyard, you cannot detach and try and use the target 3 monsters in your graveyard effect because it's a lack of targets. It's like trying to Pot of Avarice with 4 cards and then discarding one with an effect. You know?
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way.
Right. And it's also the same if one of the targets that you targeted leaves the graveyard, Emerald's effect fizzles. You don't get any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Except the detach, because that's a cost.
So, like, for example, let's say this is a common example that I see happening. Your opponent's playing a spellcaster deck and they have a Dark Magician in the graveyard and they want to special summon it. You can DD Crow it, thus removing the card from play after they use Emerald's effect. Chain DD Crow, remove it from play, and it doesn't get to special summon it back because it is no longer an available target.
Right. And even if they have 2 Dark Magicians in the graveyard, they can only special summon the one that they targeted.
And if you target the one that they targeted, it's a no-go.
Exactly. Okay, go ahead and talk about Black Ship of Corn.
The next card is the Black Ship of Corn. This card is very lovely. And it also has some negatives. So, everyone should know that there's a difference between destroying and sending. Now, destroying to the graveyard means it was destroyed by battle or by a card effect, as to our sending just says, go to the graveyard, get out of here. Now, there are cards that make it to where cards cannot be sent, which would, if it gets used, Black Ship would get no effect. But Black Ship, when you're playing against a card that, like if you're playing against someone who's using like Macro Rabbits and they play Macrocosmos, it would banish the card instead of sending it to the graveyard. Now, when it's sent to the graveyard, you inflicted damage. However, because it can't go to the graveyard, it would be sent to the banishment pile, or to the banishment part instead. They wouldn't get the burn damage like you think they would, because it doesn't go to the graveyard. That's pretty much about all I can say about Black Ship. Roy, anything you'd like to add on to Black Ship here?
No, it's go- Oh, wait. The effect, like if you like I know you just got finished saying something about the macro thing. I actually don't think you can use it with macro. If it's different if it's like Fader.
You can use it with macro.
You can use it with macro. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
and
when you
I
detach
checked the
something.
ruling on that. You can detach, you can send it, but if it would send it to the graveyard, but if you read macro, it says if any card that be sent to the graveyard, it is banished instead. it doesn't state you cannot send cards to the graveyard. It states would be sent to the banishment zone instead. Thus, meaning Black Ship of Corn can still be activated, sending it to banishment, but they don't get burned because it doesn't go to the graveyard. And on to the next and final card of the episode is
Which would be
Shockmaster.
Shockmaster.
So, Roy, you're up.
Okay. Shockmaster, it's not the card it used to be. There are too many chainable things that fuck it up. Like, Shockmaster has to be on the field for its effect to work, by the way. So if you let's say that Wind Dirt player number 1 is just went into Shockmaster because he's feeling all derpy and everything, okay? He's feeling great, he calls traps. You can then chain Compulse and just wipe the smile right off his fucking face, okay? Because when you chain to Shockmaster's effect, when they call whatever it is, that's your last chance to activate anything of that type for the rest of the... Well, actually, until their next turn, right? Yeah,
Yes.
until the end of the opponent's next turn. So their next turn is when you can start using things again. But you can chain cards of the same type to that card's effect. So if someone calls monsters, you can Valor Shockmaster, but during your turn, you won't be able to use monster effects. But during their turn, you will be. It's just like if you finish chain Shockmaster, after they call something, it doesn't forget the effect. It's still there, but as long as it's being negated, you still get the Shockmaster's effect doesn't resolve properly. So it doesn't forget the effect, but while whatever's negating it is active, it won't get the benefits.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And another thing, Shockmaster's effect activates and resolves in the field, so cards like Skill Drain. If you chain Skill Drain to Shockmaster's activation and then calling traps, it's just a no-go in general. It doesn't do anything. Because it can't technically resolve at that point when Skill Drain is chained.
Right.
So that basically makes the Wind Dirt player feel like crap about himself because they just wasted material for a card that only has 2300 attack.
Probably just negged themselves. You know,
Skips.
Wind Ups aren't exactly... Get sad, scoot.
Get sad, skips in an attempt of trying to beat the opponent in the game. Anyways,
Or worst case scenario, they swing, and then you flip Magical Cylinder and GG them.
oh my god. That is the
Anyways.
worst case scenario.
Anyways, thank you for watching Shits and Giggles, Giggles and Shits. And subscribe to Yugi Master too, if you haven't.
Oh yeah, the channel will be linked in the description below. And make sure you absolutely subscribe to Roy here. So there's a button down there. Hopefully I will make there be a button up in one of the corners of the video that you can click to. So,
Okay.
see you guys.